What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Back to the Past. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to take a look back at Little Nightmares. This is kind of in lead up to Little Nightmares 3. It's not necessarily celebrating a massive anniversary. I mean, it is, I believe, 8 years old. This coming April 28th of 2017 is when this game first came out. I actually played it when it originally came out. I think I did like a Let's Play on my main channel, Podcast Now. Pretty old at this point, only 2 years into that channel, but I always liked this game. I feel like just as time has gone on, I've gotten more into it, and I tweeted this when I'm recording this, which is actually quite a while before you guys are seeing the video. Little Nightmares is such a deep game for being really not that big. Like, okay, I mean, the pun is kind of intended, and, you got the name of Little Nightmares, but, like, I'm talking kind of length. Like, these games are not long whatsoever. You can complete them in one sitting, even as people get older, and, one sitting might be an hour or two. You could do it in that amount of time if you don't die repeatedly. Now, I died repeatedly, so it's stretched a little bit longer, but these games are very short, but they're oozing personality. They have an amazing visual style. They got a really cool kind of, behind the scenes type story. And now the interesting thing with Little Nightmares 1, of course, is how it works so well once you play the sequel. It's tough because, like, I want to talk about this game just on its own. That's what we're going to do. But, it's complemented so much by years after when the second game comes out and you realize, holy dear God, Little Nightmares 1 is the sequel to Little Nightmares 2. And I mean, games have done that. There's been a few games, but, you don't really realize that. Well, you definitely don't realize it at the time, right? You're sitting here in 2017 playing this game. It is just a creepy, weird type of game that takes maybe 2 hours to beat. It gives you a little bit of info, primarily just through, like, the visuals, primarily through what the game shows. It never tells. In fact, that's I am actually a fan of showing, not telling. And considering there's no dialogue in these games, you have to show, right? There's nothing else you can really do. Now, I also think a big part of this game, in terms of the lore and kind of world building, also is it benefits from the DLC, right? When you have the runaway kid and the connection of how he kind of goes in and out of Six's life in Little Nightmares 1, but also kind of gives you a little bit of, like, deeper meaning when you see, like, the gnomes and you say, oh, okay, those are children. I mean, you can kind of guess that when you're just playing the base game, and there's some themes that are thrown around and stuff like that, but, you don't get too much from Little Nightmares 1. I mean, like, the hunger that Six has, it's disturbing in Little Nightmares 1. And, what she does as the game goes is also disturbing. But to kind of fill in the gap of, like, well, okay, well, like, is she so hungry that she's, like, eating an alive rat, eating a child, right? Like, why is she doing this? And then you kind of realize as the games go, oh, okay, it's literally like a piece of her soul is missing, her spirit, and kind of filling that void. So just really deep. I mean, again, going back to that central message, it's a short game. It's literally about, kind of tinier than life type things, but it has so much there. And in terms of the game itself, it does a really good job of just cranking and just going through the whole thing. It seamlessly transitions from one area to the next. Playing this thing, I forgot about really the last half hour when you're kind of going through the elites, right? When they're, like, just stuffing their freaking faces and just how big they are, right? And they're stuffing with food and they're chasing you, and it basically becomes like a freaking avalanche. It reminded me of the Heartless in Kingdom Hearts 3 when they form like that wave. That's what you basically get attacked with towards the end of the game. And then you have the lady, right? And a deeper meaning with her once you play the DLCs of, what she looks like under the mask. Even staring at the cooks and noticing, obviously, that they're twins, and they'll kind of lift their masks up just a little bit, itch their face or whatever and put it back down. I mean, the game's kind of disturbing. I mentioned Six in terms of what she does when she's hungry, and, it kind of starts just very, it's no big deal. Like, she'll eat seemingly uncooked meat and things like that. Then you have the rat, which is still alive, kinda. Then you have just an actual, I don't even want to call it like a human being because I don't know if they're technically human beings, but that kind of symbolism or those kind of like just hidden things throughout the game, well, they're out throughout the game, right? Like, you have the idea of the transportation system of these children kind of getting wrapped up in, like, this wax type thing and being sent over to the butcher, right? You have the janitor before that, right? That kind of is like a hall monitor almost, right? Can't see but can hear, so you have to be very, very careful. And, that kind of personality, these monsters look terrifying, and it doesn't help that you're so much smaller. And that kind of goes into not really a deeper meaning, almost like just an entry level meaning of what the developer was trying to do with, kind of a child, small, and then they're kind of looking up and seeing all these like massive, the big adults and kind of like in their perspective. I think it goes a whole lot deeper than that in terms of, again, like what 6 is up to and the raincoat and all that stuff, which, again, a lot of those things get answered in future games. Then you got the gameplay itself, which, again, I think is just a clever kind of combination of, I don't know if you want to call it platforming, it's more like puzzle solving, stealth. I think they said that it's not necessarily a stealth game. They don't classify it as that, but, I think they said it's like a hide and seek type game. Like, that's what it is. And that's true. A lot of this game is you're waiting for like the perfect opportunity. You're waiting for like that perfect throw that you're going to make with something to distract the janitor, or you're going to wait till one of the cooks, their back is turned and you're either going to make a sprint for it. Now, there are ways of kind of, gaining the upper hand. Like some of them, like the cook, right? Their arms aren't long enough to reach certain areas, whereas the janitor is. So you got to be extremely careful. But the gameplay itself is really good. It's very simple for sure, but it's got this kind of forward progress always on its mind. But it gives you a little bit of time here and there to kind of pause, kind of relax, and look around and explore. It's got a couple hidden collectibles, right, in every area. It's got things to light up, which is kind of a thing as well. So you have time to kind of slow down just a little bit, and then you'll have, kind of your puzzle solving type thing, or grab this crank, or kind of get by an enemy, grab the crank, and then like go back, again, hiding from the enemy, and then you'll kind of have like a chase sequence that ends pretty much every zone, right? At the end of everything, including even, say, the cook one, you get on the plates, you grab the hook, they're trying to chase you, you run, you grab the other hook, and you're out of there, right? So every one of these, it's got a similar kind of flow to it, where it gives you those moments of just like calming down and being okay, a little bit of exploration, a little bit of puzzle solving, and then some sort of like massive chase. But I mean, I keep saying it's a disturbing game. Like you get, the janitor and then the cooks and all that stuff, like you can kind of see it from them, where it's like, yeah, not everything's okay in this world. Like things are definitely off. And then, 6 just in general with the hunger, and ending with devouring, the lady and gaining her powers and just kind of walking through the ship and taking out everybody with it. Number one, incredible change of like camera perspective there. Freaking love that. But also complements that disturbing nature, because you get it in a couple different ways. And again, I really think, especially the base game, really leaves you questioning like a lot of stuff. Like, they do, especially in the beginning of the game, there's a lot of subtle things where, and I love how they do it, where you could tell you're rocking, right? Like if you stand still, I mean, the camera does it. You can look at items just on the ground and stuff, like they'll roll, right? They'll move, and you can kind of get the sense, oh, are we like on a ship? And, the game doesn't really reveal it, because, everything is in that perspective of like following something that's pretty tiny, right? So like you're going from room to room, or like ventilation shaft to ventilation shaft, and it's not really until, again, like the last half hour that you actually break free, leave, and then you can see, the water, which I think this game, by the way, is really, really pretty. Just I mean, it's a disturbing kind of pretty, but it is pretty. Then, you climb up and you realize, okay, we're on this ship. You can kind of tell it was a ship from the beginning if you were paying attention. And again, like what they do with children and the transportation system and who's running the show. I mean, 6 is dreaming about the lady, or has like the vision of the lady in the very beginning, and then obviously that comes back towards the end. So there's a lot of these, I wouldn't say super deep, and maybe if I said that earlier in the video, just kind of negate that. I don't know if it's all that deep, at least at this point in our lives, right? Like once we get to Little Nightmares 2, and once we're able to kind of fill in the gaps and realize some of the cool twists and turns, and the Thin Man and all that stuff, once we get that, then I think it enhances Little Nightmares 1. The issue is, well, I don't know if it's too much of an issue. This game, I think, does stand alone as just a really solid, fun, very different, kind of like side-scrolling puzzle-solving type game that's just really weird and, kind of something that you don't really see every day. And then it gets enhanced once you realize where everything comes from and why things are kind of going the way that they are. But I think, there's enough there in terms of like how the system works in the ship, and just the elites, stuffing their faces kind of up top, whereas, you got things down below. And then, like I said, even the DLC with the runaway kid, and he kind of goes through the journey that you can see in the base game. You might not be able to put it all together, but then through him, you're able to see, okay, one thing kind kind of turns to the next. Janitor captures you, sends you off, kind of wraps you up. Then you go, he escapes, right? You get to different areas of the ship. So that kind of fills in a lot of the gaps of this first game. It doesn't fill in everything. It doesn't give it all super deeper meanings. That's later, but I think it does its job. So overall, I mean, like I said, I remember playing this game. I remember being like really weirded out. Some of the noises and stuff, like it's scary, when they see you, and it's also disturbing. I got caught by the cook probably more time than anybody else, right? Like the janitor got me a few times, but the janitor, he'll just kind of pick you up, and it's like, not terrifying. I mean, the noises that are made and kind of the lead up to that, yeah, that's a little scary. But with the cook, I mean, he'll freaking throw you in a pot. He'll throw you in an oven. Like it's a little scary being chased by them, and then also obviously when you get caught, it's a little bit disturbing. But I think the game works really well in that way because you're underpowered, you're small, and you can use that to your benefit a lot of the time. But if you're seen, if it's not like a chase scene where you're supposed to be seen and you're supposed to run, if it's like a stealth like section and you get caught, chances of survival, at least in my opinion, not very high, or at least actually in my experience, they're not very high. If I got caught in an area that you're not supposed to really get caught, and again, at the end of every kind of zone, you do get caught, or there's no way around it, and it's supposed to be like a mad chase to the finish line, but like in the middle of it, you're not really supposed to be seen all that much. So if you are seen, it's terrifying because you're trying to run for your life, you're trying to do like that epic slide to get under something, and the amount of times I messed it up and just got picked up, it's like, oh, my game is over. Little do they know, once Six gets those powers, she can't be really messed with after that. So there you go. I plan on playing Little Nightmares 2 again, replaying it to get ready for Little Nightmares 3. You guys let me know what you think about the franchise and the first game in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I'll see you all on the next one.